Namaste, Vanakkam, Namaskaram, and welcome to a very special edition today of the World Hindu Foundation interview with Pujya Swami Vedanandji Saraswati and His Holiness Swami Ramkripananda of the newly formed Sannyasa Council of South Africa. Recently, the coronavirus has presented unprecedented health challenges across all strata in society throughout the world. The COVID experience has caused us to reflect on who we are, the quality of life that we lead, our health and well-being, and just as important, the end of life. We are looking towards the wisdom keepers of our society. And does Hinduism, since time immemorial, embrace these new challenges? What is it that we can do in this part of the globe? Today, we are going to explore a little bit where the wisdom keepers have come to us, the general society, to bring about a new change. During this time of the coronavirus pandemic, we saw Hindu organizations and individuals, young and old, serve and continue to serve the society at large. As the country reeled through this crisis, which saw thousands dying and many more affected, the Hindu society rallied across the country to serve and help. However, in the throes of COVID, another crisis hit the country, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, with the recent looting and mass destruction to property, as well as people being killed. The Hindu community and the Indian community at large also became a target. Against the background of global crises, we want to know, are the wisdom keepers today embracing these challenges? And what is the wisdom that they will offer to us and the rest of the society as we pick up the pieces of so much of destruction, and we pick up the pieces and mend ourselves as individuals as well as the society at large? We come from a great and dynamic tradition of Hindu Dharma, and today in our studio we experience the wisdom of two amazing Swamijis, His Holiness Pujya Swami Vedanandji Saraswati and Pujya Swami Ramkripananda. Welcome to the program. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, namaste, Shigaji. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Swamiji, just to start the first question, Swami Vedanandji, please explain what is the Sannyasa Spiritual Council of South Africa? What is it about?
Yeshigaji, where do I begin? Late in November last year, after going through months of the turmoil that we've all experienced with the unprecedented times of COVID-19, having experienced challenges both emotionally, physically, financially, with many people suffering and not knowing who to turn to, where to turn, and then also realizing that as Hindu movements, and there are many in the country, we're all trying to respond, but because we're responding in our own quarters, our response was not impactful enough. People were looking for answers, but the platform to be able to consolidate those answers and provide a good response, a united response, a spiritual response, was not there. It was then that we decided that as members of the cloth, as members of the order of sannyas, who have literally taken a new identity, a higher identity, by taking sannyasa ashram, if we couldn't provide that guidance, that spiritual advice, that understanding, especially in the worst of times where your faith is tested the most, then there is very little hope to hold on to that divine light. It was then that we all assembled together as sannyasis from the various different movements and said, the time has come for us to work as one. Though we may come from different movements, pray in different ways, our eyes focus on the same divine light. The message of Hindu Dharma, of Sanatana Dharma, is one. The challenges that society faces is one. And therefore, by us uniting, we are able to give a united dharmic response right from the very top of Hindu Dharma to the people that we serve, to the community that we serve, and not only for Hindus alone, but for humanity. Our Dharma says, the Veda says, Manur Bhava Janaya Devyam Janam. O man, be human and make a world of divine enlightened people. As sannyasis, we are charged with that responsibility. We have come away from biasness and attachment to the world, but offered ourselves to be servants of humanity, to be light bearers and torch bearers, taking humanity out of the darkness of ignorance and leading them to light. And therefore, by us coming together, irrespective of the organizations that we may be part of, that alone speaks volumes for a united community that we so desperately need in this day and age. If you'll allow me, Yeshika ji, I would like to read to you from the preamble of the first constitution of the Sannyasa Spiritual Council of South Africa, which officially founded on the 1st of September 2021, but shall launch soon. The Sannyasa Spiritual Council of South Africa is a spiritual, non-partisan, and apolitical association of sannyasis, monks of the highest order in Hinduism in South Africa, from various Hindu organizations and sampradayas, formalized and founded on the 1st of September 2021, with the objective of coming together, irrespective of their individual organizations, and working together in the name of Dharma to establish spiritual truth, peace, and enlightenment, and unity in society in accordance with Sanatana Dharma, as well as a universal value system of not only followers of the Hindu faith, but all of humanity. Promote devotion that is free of insignificance, misconceptions, and blind faith. Propagate Sanatana Dharma and encourage social responsibility which aligns with the ideals and values of Dharma. And in so doing, heal the divisions of the past and establish a Hindu community united in its diversity. Our vision will be to promote, preserve, protect, and uphold the universal fundamental teachings of Dharma and cultivate mutual respect, love, and tolerance for all living beings, including animals and nature, to promote unity among Hindus and Hindu institutions in South Africa. Be a torchbearer towards righteous living and empowering all to achieve spiritual union with the Supreme Being. And additionally, to protect and uphold the dignity and integrity of the Sannyasa ashram and the dictates of the order as prescribed in the Vedas, Upanishads, Gita, and Puranas, and other relevant Hindu scriptures that is not in conflict or contradiction with the aforementioned scriptures. To assist, protect, and cater for the welfare of sannyasis that are signatory to the council and ensure the continuity of the selfless work they have dedicated their lives to perform for the betterment of society.
That is absolutely amazing, Swamiji. I think that's beautifully put from the preamble of the new constitution. And it speaks to universal human values. It speaks to a very holistic approach towards taking the Hindu voice forward, not only for the community who has also been bereft of, leadership in a way. And I think we need to be honest with that because, whilst individual organizations had to continue doing the good work in the past year and Hindus were called to do so much of seva, there was also difficulty because Pandits could not operate in mandirs. People couldn't go out and meet and have, meetings that would allow people to make solid decisions. And also we had older people in our community who were leaders that could not lead much because they were also affected by the coronavirus pandemic. So when is it going to be formed, Swamiji, officially?
So we, as the sannyasis, have got together already and officially amongst ourselves formed the council on the 1st of September. But we shall officially launch and adopt the constitution tomorrow, 12th of September 2021, which will also form as our first annual general meeting. And I must say, Yashika ji, that you'll find this is the first constitution that will not have a hierarchy or executive structure. Because as sannyasis, we are all equal. We shall discuss together, talk together, and decide together. All we shall elect is a convener that will facilitate the administration and take that common voice and send it out to the rest of the community. So 12th of September will be the official sort of local, national, and international launch of the Sannyasa Council of South Africa.
That's wonderful, Swamiji. And it's also this time in 1893 when Swami Vivekananda, went to the Parliament of the World's Religions. So this year and this time, his teachings and his wisdom is being celebrated, throughout the world. So Swami Ramkripananda ji, namaskar and welcome to the program. I wanted to find out why was this necessary to be formed in South Africa in particular?
Swamiji, unmute.
Swamiji, you need to unmute. At the bottom, there's the mic sign and you just unmute.
Okay, Swamiji is disconnected.
I see Swamiji has disconnected. So Swami Vedanandji, perhaps you can respond. Why was this necessary to be formed in South Africa? Swamiji, you also muted.
Sorry, you'll see that our specialty lies in spirituality, technology. We're still getting used to. But you'll find that, especially in South Africa, we are faced, unlike being in what I like to coin the term a cultural comfort zone, in specifically like India, where you're infused with the energy of spirituality everywhere you are. In South Africa, we very much, it's not that we don't have the spiritual vibrancy of Hinduism here, but we also very much faced with what people like to coin also the Western world and modern approaches to many things that sort of divert our attention and our lifestyles away from spirituality. We get caught up with the ego and the material world in ways that take Paramatma and spirituality and place it in the back pocket. And we only focus on Paramatma when, we're either suffering or we need something really badly. So we'll work on our bartering system and, pray to Paramatma that we get something. But we need to realize that much of that is also as a result of Hinduism being very much stuck in a specific time frame. Now, I go back to what the Veda says. The Veda says in the Atharva Veda, these Vedas are eternal. The values are eternal. But they arise ever new every day, just like the sun and the moon. We need to be able to take the values of our dharma and retranslate it in a way that's adaptable to the generation of today, keeping the traditions and culture alive, but in a way which they can embrace and understand in today's language, in a way that keeps it relevant, in a way that keeps it dynamic. The important thing is that we have to do that by working together. We have so much of diversity, beautiful diversity. At the end of the day, Bhagwan created different flowers, different roses, but they're still flowers that emanate a beautiful essence. Whilst we work together, we shouldn't forget the fundamental fact that we are all Hindus. And there are fundamentals to Hinduism that we need to always maintain and keep united. So we felt that as sannyasis of the order of Hinduism, that don't now, once we take the identity of sannyasa, we don't belong to a specific linguistic group, a specific traditional group or cultural group. As sannyasi, you shed all of that. It is just dharma. And being impartial dharmic peacekeepers, we felt it is our responsibility to make our Hindus aware that through your diversity, do not forget that you are Hindu first. You are human first. The fundamental human values need to be kept supreme. And that is why it was vital at this point in time, where our faith is tested the most, that we need to come together, work together, so that we can overcome together.
Brilliant. Absolutely well said, Swamiji. Swami Ramkripananda, you're here with us. That's wonderful.
Yes. Sorry about that.
No, that's perfectly fine. We all getting used to technology, and we have to also adapt to this new normal.
Yes.
Swamiji, one of the things that Swami Vedananda just mentioned, and the reason why it's so important to have formed the Sannyasa Spiritual Council in South Africa, do you find that South Africans are still caught up in old superstitious ways and they're not able to navigate new ways of understanding Dharma? Perhaps you can maybe elaborate why then the Sannyasa Council is so important for South Africa.
Well, like Swamiji was saying earlier on, I think that they need some kind of a direction. But problem is, who is giving the direction? When we have all householders trying to give direction to the community and to the people around, and also the organizations are having major problems themselves when there is split in the organizations and everyone's ego is getting the better of them because everyone wants to be chairpersons and everyone wants to be in charge. So there's always so much of split that is taking place. And for the Sannyasa Council to come in at this time, I think it's a very, very important thing because there's so much of conversions taking place. So many people leaving Hindu Dharma and what we'll say, crossing over. So with the Sannyasa Council being around, we can give them direction in a way that we want to simplify Hinduism. And Hinduism is not only about doing big pujas and that kind of thing. Hinduism is a way of life. We got to walk what we are talking, and also we got to be practical in everything that we do. And we understand and we know that youth are coming in, and they are not somebody that's going to be sitting around and saying, oh yes, my grandfather did this, I want to do it, and my grandmother did this and I must do it. And they've got questions, and they want to know, why is this thing done and why is that thing done, and why must we offer this and why must we offer that. So we want to give them the simple way of life, and also to show them that Hinduism is higher than sitting and singing bhajans. It's about working with the people. It's about showing love to people. It's about serving the community. It's about acting with, interacting with one another. That is what we as sannyas, and we have no, we have no goals in our life to be a big shot in some organization. so we can give our hearts, out to the people, so that in a loving manner, in a simple manner, that serve all, love all, be kind to all, be compassionate. That is the highest seva that we want to, as the Hindu Council want to bring out into the people in South Africa.
That is so beautifully put, Swamiji. And you yourself and even Swami Vedanandji are such strong icons in our society, and you have lifted us, during the toughest times during this time. And I think there's some Hindu devotees call you, Swami Ramkripananda, Father Christmas, because your seva has been. It just oozes out, and the love that you share with so many thousands of people, it's just unbelievable. Even the stranger in our midst, and I think that is the calling, the higher calling of our Hindu dharma. Swami Ramkripananda, one more question. There are many conflicts that happen globally. How can this Darshak Mandal, or this the Sannyasi Spiritual Council, guide society and offer wisdom in the face of conflict?
Yeah, you see, conflicts is there in everywhere. When an organization is formed, I think as Swami Vedananda was just highlighting us about this Sannyasa Council. When a council is formed, or when an organization is formed, then there is a structure. And whenever there is a structure, there's always problems, because the person who takes the chair, he wants to become a chairman and he wants to sit and he doesn't want to move. Then he wants an assistant chairman, and then the assistant chairman takes the chair, and then the whole tamasha starts. This one is big and that one is small, and this one wants to call the shots and that. But with the council, with the Sarva Dharma ashram style, is that when we see love to everybody, and everybody must join an ashram or join a society, not for position, because Bhagwan is taking the position. He has the position. We must come in as Sevadas. We must come in as servants of God. And our duty is not to come there and ask for a chair, but our duty is to come there and ask, what can we do to help the organization? What can we do to help the people around us? And our duty is to uplift people, is to educate the kids, is to get them out of the streets and give them education. And only through education, we can give them knowledge. Otherwise, you cannot give them knowledge if they don't have education. So with our, group of swamis that we have, they are all seva orientated. And everyone wants to do something to uplift somebody. And because we all have the same mental attitude, then it will definitely work. So we're not going to go in and say, Swami Vedananda now he is a president, and then I am the vice president, and Swami Shivashankarananda in Johannesburg, he is that president. And all these presidents come in, then we got too many chiefs and no Indians. Yeah.
That's well said. That's absolutely well said. I think that has been... Yes, Swamiji.
If I can echo what Swami Ramkripananda says, we need to, our role is to lead by example. Not to lead and tell other people this is how it should be done. We need to be on the ground, and we are on the ground. That's a beautiful part about the members or the signatories to the Sannyasa Council. We are on the ground, and we lead from being on the ground. If we're going to sit on a high throne and try and tell somebody below what to do, you're not leading by example. You cannot see things from that level, and you will never be able to transform them.
Absolutely. And that is the beauty of it, because, having just said earlier on, we see Swamiji, we see you, we see Swami Ramkripananda, we see so many of our, orange-clad Swamis on the ground working with the devotees, because I think a crisis like this pushed us away from the cave to society. And we know in Hindu Dharma, often when people take the state of sannyasi, they leave the society, they go and do meditation, which is wonderful, which is part and parcel of the Hindu tradition. But it's also wonderful to see that that swamis are coming out of the cave, as it were, embracing the society at large. So, Swami Vedanandaji, Swami just mentioned about conflicts and how it happens when people have positions, etc. But globally, there are conflicts too. And Hindu society needs to galvanize together because there's a lot of Hindu phobia. Even in South Africa, people don't understand. When we walk together and see each other working with different race groups, etc., people don't know that you're a Hindu. Firstly, we ourselves may not display outwardly our garments or maybe vibhuti or whatever, and people get confused. So we often are addressed in a very colonial way, or maybe perhaps in a way that is being used to by certain religions because they've been here for a long time. How do you see the role of the Sannyasa Council changing that and bringing a new ethos and creating a sense of pride with the Hindus?
It's a very important question. And also, to echo what Swamiji said, it all stems from education and, in a way, the lack thereof. You see, because we are so conflicted with each other, and for us to really make things work, sometimes we have to call a spade a spade. Things have not gone too well when it comes to Hindu institutions in SA. Yes, there's a lot of work being done, grant that. But there's also a lot of disillusionment. And as a result of that, we find that we focus so much on I'm the best or you're the best and this is how things must be, that when we've lost the unity structure, the essence of Hindu Dharma and a Hindu voice was lost in between. Because there was no more education, there was no more wisdom around it. We didn't focus on taking the gems that exist within our scriptures and teaching our children about it, making sure it's part of our everyday duties. No, we focused more on the institution. We focused more on the positions. And only here and there, we recited and rehashed the Ramayana, we recited and rehashed the Bhagavad Gita. But then when we finished and left the mandir and left the discourse, it was over. We haven't carried it on. And as a result, what people see is a lot of hypocrisy. What people see is a lack of their own understanding. I mean, when we talk about conversions, why is it that somebody can't come and convert me or can't come and convert Swami Ramkripananda? It's not that we're any different or we're born any differently, but because we understand, we know the essence of Dharma. We can wear proudly the saffron garb, knowing that it doesn't make me different from my Christian or Muslim brother and sister, but I understand the equality of it, the oneness of it, and what I represent. I understand the deeper meaning behind it. Somebody else tomorrow comes and denies it or says something else. Because I'm educated, because I understand the essence of my dharma, I'm going to understand the value of the cloth I wear. I'm going to understand the value of the mantras I recite. I'm going to understand the value of wearing the Rakhi or the Lakshmi string. But because we haven't focused and emphasized it in home and within our families, made sure that culture, that comfort zone, as I called it, that cultural comfort zone, is not just in the mandir, but at home. Ensuring that our parents no longer say, oh, you know what, no time, education is important. Education is important, but what education? What's the sense in educating our children to be able to make a living? What about being able to live and how to live? Because whilst they're out there making a living, the choices that they're making are making them unhappy, making them commit suicide, making a whole lot of things happen. That's why we're seeing the world the way it is. So it all stems from the lack of education, the lack of responsibility from our institutions, putting the education first, rather than just rehashing and focusing on all other things. So the Sannyasa Council now comes in and says, all right, let's put administration in the back and now go out into the homes of our people in a simple way and start making them understand what does it mean to be a Hindu. Let's not just say we are Hindu. What does it mean? There's so much of diversity. You don't know whether you're X, Y, Z. Let's start with the commonalities. Let's start with that which unites us. And from that, whatever little flowers and differences and fragrances in between, enjoy that. But never forget the fundamental thread that unites us all, because then that does not make me say he is greater, that one is great, I am greater, and all the stories that come out. That will be a prime responsibility of the Sannyasa Council. Because if we can come together from our different organizations as sannyasis, then we must go out and take that unity and spread it amongst all of those that we serve.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Yashika ji, like you were saying earlier on, when we had Swamis from the earlier orders, the senior Swamis, we call them, they were unapproachable. They sat in their rooms and they were doing their meditation, and they were not there for the people. So what happened is, when they had a problem, who do they go to? They can't go to their families and friends because all of them have problems. So we as the council, we have decided that we must come to the people. We got to go to the people, and we got to come down to grassroots level and to pick them up and then give them a direction. Then that's the only way they're going to really enjoy being around a sannyas, because then they don't say, "Oh, Swamiji is coming, right? Gone duck now," you know what I mean? So we want that kind of this thing. But they must say, "Oh, Swamiji is coming. Swamiji, how are you?" You know, they must feel that oneness with the Swami. You know, and that is what we want to encourage, and that is how we're going to bring the youth to the bhajan halls, because the youth are not in the bhajan halls now. They're in all the other halls, but not in the bhajan hall. So our duty now as sannyas is to bring them to the bhajan hall, but make them enjoy, because they must enjoy the bhajans. And then all those people that got one leg in the Ganga, they must stop singing. Let the children sing, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yashika ji, can you imagine now, just from those grassroots level, if we can start changing the impact from there, if we can start changing the mindset, then automatically from individual, you change community, from community to society, society to nation. Automatically, the global impact must change, but it cannot change globally if as the individual, you have not seen the change, you have not understood the change.
Absolutely.
So it all starts from the grassroots level. I mean, the unrest that we've just experienced, and Swami Ramkripananda ji can bear testament. People will listen to you when you work with them on the ground. You bring somebody who's far detached from the communities and want to start speaking peace, they're not going to listen. But when you work together, when they understand who you are, the love that you have, irrespective whether you're Indian, whether you're whatever race you are, you work together for the sake of humanity. You forge and blend those cross-cultural relationships and the social cohesion together because your heart is in it, not because you want to score brownie points. Then slowly the role would change. And tomorrow you get somebody who has an ulterior motive that wants to change the mind of the many. Because you start strengthening that, we change, we take responsibility where we have erred. Let us strengthen our community. Let us forge bonds together. We will slowly start eradicating tensions that the one or two could decide to want to cause for the sake of their own personal agenda. It all starts from the individual.
Yes, change always begins from within, and I think that shows me right now that there's going to be massive dynamic shifts that's going to take place in the community. People are not going to say, "Oh, there's the usual organization with the usual structures, and we're going to have the usual problems again." I see now you've broken that down completely, and that's absolutely wonderful. Swami Ramkripananda ji, how many sampradayas are there? That's going to be part of the council.
Oh,
I can answer that.
I think Swami Vedananda must answer, because he's got all the details on that thing.
All right.
All right. That shows you, Yashika ji, we only see Atman when we come together.
Yeah,
so
we're not even looking at.
But
who
for the
belongs
sake
to
of
who.
technicality, we've got representation from, and remember, as sannyasis also, I mean, we're limited in number in South Africa. We're not like India, where, I mean, there's a larger group of sannyasis, which is all the more important why we need to work together. We've got representation from the Divine Life movement, the Arya Samaj movement. We've got support from the Ramakrishna movement, the Chinmaya mission, as well as the support from our larger organizations that might not have sannyasis here in SA, but have a sannyasi sampradaya in the movement. So we've got full support. Not a single organization has objected to us coming together. In fact, we've had more excitement than we ever thought possible. So we've got full
That's
representation. As it's important, our hope is that whilst we work within our organizations, the mind must always see dharma first, atman first. The moment we start differentiating, especially when you're still on the journey on your spiritual evolutionary path, the mind is always going to differentiate. So the more we can break down these borders and leave the mind little gap to want to differentiate, I see equality. I see a common Hindu. I see a common dharma. And that must always reign supreme. This is not the day and age for separation. I mean, ultimately, what are we trying to achieve? The fundamentals.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think if the messaging is oneness, because there is no need for any ambition, there's no need for
Yes.
any ego, or the
Right.
sannyasis are the renunciates of the community. That is absolutely brilliant, and it's really, really a brilliant idea that this has come about. And I think the pandemic has really caused us to think about who we are ourselves and how to advance our society in a way for good.
To give you one
You,
last example, sorry, Yashika ji,
no,
I
no,
have
that's
to
fine.
say this. So imagine when we all start, just to make sure we represent everybody, we'll say namaste, vanakkam, namaskaram. But yet, those are linguistic differences. What is common to us all? Om. Because tomorrow we're all speaking to each
Absolutely.
other. How many things I'm going to say? I'm going to say Sai Ram, Hare Krishna, Om, Hari Om, Namaste, Namaskaram. Automatically, half the speech will go away just with the greeting. But when we all come together, we all chant with Om, regardless of what linguistic background or cultural background. Om will unite us. Om
Very
goes
true.
beyond the concept of, that is the mantra for sannyasis. Sannyasis don't focus on specific mantras anymore because we've achieved that. We just regard Om. So with that Om, we all embrace that oneness. Sorry, I said I must mention that note.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that is brilliant. And in fact, it'll meet the millennial, it'll meet
Yes.
Generation Z, because they are the ones don't want to say too many things. And they've also become really disillusioned with the establishment.
Yes.
They have a different take on what is going on. And ironically, these young people are very compassionate. And, we've seen during this crisis, they were the ones who were helping the elders. They went
Yes.
out of their way to ensure the food parcels were in the neighborhood because they saw this crisis. While the parents were debating, should we go, should we not, etc., the kids were out. And what is beautiful is that many of them went to they actually followed the saffron cloth. They followed the saffron cloth because they found that light in the distance. And it's so good that it's now available to everybody, and people are now able to access you in a much bigger way. Swami Vedanandji, is there a constitution, and how, will it be sent to the organizations for comment? Perhaps you can share a little bit more about that.
Okay, so whether you can see it, I am holding up. This is our
I think
constitution.
you have a virtual background. If you can just place it in front of you a little.
Right.
Yes, that's perfect.
Right. So that's our constitution. It's a very simple constitution, but in depth with our intentions, our hopes, our aspirations, our vision, our mission. The constitution is 99% based on the dictates of the sannyasa ashram. And the reason I say 99% and not 100%, because barring the words that put legal technicalities in there, the rest is all based on the dictates of the sannyasa ashram, because this movement will be and consist only of sannyasis alone. And the dictates of our order is the same. So as a result, the constitution highlights those dictates, it highlights our duties, it highlights how we work together as a council of sannyasis. So it will be available for others to see, but not to comment on, because this is only a, you can't really comment on a dictate of a sannyas ashram. That is a dictate directly from the scriptures itself. We've just structured it in a working format that enables us as the sannyasis to declare accordingly in the name of dharma alone. So as much as we come from different sampradayas, like I said, when we enter the ashram, when we enter the meeting hall, when we come amidst ourselves, the organization stays at the door. And we come as one, putting dharma first. The constitution highlights that. The constitution highlights how we work with each other, how we lend our decisions, etc., etc. So it's very much just within the sannyasis itself. Also with the name, the spiritual Sannyasa Spiritual Council of South Africa, we've also had to protect the name to make sure that, before anybody just uses it, we also have to protect the integrity and dignity of the sannyas ashram. So nobody can just use the name without, not sannyasi itself, but I mean the name of the organization, without taking counsel from the sannyasis who are signatory to the council first, to say, okay, if you want to partner, use the name for something, then we discuss it. But it can't just be used just like that. Also, you will find that we are not members of the Sannyasa Council. We are signatories to the Sannyasa Council, because as sannyasis, we belong to no organization, even though we may work for organizations. We belong to Paramatma. We've already shed our identity. But to represent us coming together as a grouping, as a movement, we have called ourselves signatories to a constitutional charter, which means we sort of spiritually bind our duties whilst we are signatories to work together for a greater dharmic voice in the name of dharma alone. So that is basically the constitution. As I say, once it's tomorrow, it will be officially signed into power. Let's call it that, and we will all govern our mission and govern our activities based on that constitution. And it's not a top secret document. I mean, we are a completely and fully transparent movement. We will also, it's important to note, we will not be an institution that raises funds. We have got all our organizations that are doing splendid work, that are there to raise the funds to do that work. We are there to oversee and to facilitate and to help guide that those funds are used in accordance with the dharma that these organizational institutions proclaim to hold supreme.
Excellent. So, and that's a fundamental point. In fact, I was going to ask about that, because, in society, accountability becomes really, really critical. And in South Africa, with the levels of corruption that we see around us in every facet of life, the temptation for corruption is rife, and it's across the board. So it's so good that there isn't, anything to do with financial considerations. However, will there be wisdom given to individuals and organizations from our scriptures on how we need artha? How do we look at the nature of finance?
Absolutely. That is why, as much as we do not collect the finances, we for individuals who want to do work, we will make sure that there are so many of our Hindu institutions that are doing amazing work. You can support these institutions, but we will guide. As I said, ultimately each institution are their own constituted body. However, our hope and prayer, and I'll mention something soon, which we will actually inform tomorrow at our launch. We will be there to guide, to ensure that if you are representing Hindu Dharma, you are not representing Hindu Dharma in isolation. There are fundamentals to the Dharma that you shall not cross. And part of that means that whatever money that you get from society, it is your responsibility to ensure that you are accountable to that society. There are laws governing the use of public money in the name of Dharma. And we will take it upon ourselves to be able to educate our institutions. Though we can't directly or legally tell them what to do, because again, they are their own constituted bodies, but we will guide accordingly. Now, whilst saying that, I must also add that we are in the final stages of coming up with a Hindu Dharma Unity Treaty, which we will introduce after the launch and bring together all organizations, Hindu institutions in SA to be signatory to. This treaty will ask organizations to be spiritually bound to a set of principles and working responsibilities that ensure that unity, which we as the council will oversee. Whether it's being signatory to ensuring that they conduct themselves according to the fundamental dictates of Dharma, as well as how they work and how they facilitate each other, that they shall not contradict or be in competition with each other, that they shall not condemn each other. So there are fundamentals that we're putting together as a Hindu Dharma Unity Treaty, and we'll ask every institution to study the treaty, and we'll have a meeting, whether it's online or physical, to have all the representatives of those organizations there and be signatory to that treaty, where irrespective of our diversity, there are fundamentals we all say that we will bind ourselves to. So tomorrow, when we go wrong, there'll be that sannyasi that will say, okay, you have signatory to this, why are you going against it? In that way, it's some sort of order, if I could put it that way, that ensures that we all are buying towards this unity structure, whilst we are diverse in our belief systems.
Fantastic. Absolutely excellent. There's some questions that are coming now from Facebook. One is, are organizations such as VHP, Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh allowed by the council? And there's also Swami Vigyanandaji, who is the General Secretary of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Will he be able to serve Hindus via, because he is part of the World Hindu Foundation, which is basically Vishwa Hindu Parishad. So how will that relation happen? And it also comes to my next question about how will the Sannyasa Council work with current local structures, like the Hindu Mahasabha, for example. Swami Ramkripananda, would you like to take the answer first, or shall I go to Swami Vedananda first?
Yeah, no. You see, the aim of the council is very simple. Is that, as you was asking Swami Vedananda some questions earlier on, and we were speaking about finance. In times like this, in this time of Corona, when the people needed us the most, when organizations went into hibernation also. And the worst part is that when you have Hindu organizations that's sitting with millions in the bank, and when you got millions of people without food, and then it tells you that that Hindu organization is completely out of track, because that money is given to you or to your organization to uplift people. And in time of need, we should take that monies out of that account, because when the money is coming to our hands as sannyas, we don't see now which bank we're going to put it in and how much interest we're going to collect and all those things, because Bhagwan is not interested in all those things. He's interested in what you're going to do with the money that he put into your hands. And so for us as the Sannyasa Council, it'll be important to show these other organizations that these monies that are being collected is not collected for you to put into your bank account and to become now householders, that the children are fighting for that money, because that money come to you because for the use of the people.
Yes.
And for the upliftment of the children. Now, but you take that money and put into your account, and then you want to have this investment, that investment. There should be no investment in an organization where when people around you have nothing to eat, the children don't have school facilities, the children don't have uniforms, school clothes and books and things like that, and there you are sitting with millions in your in your account, and then every 3 months you're having a meeting, and then each one is now wondering who stole the money from where, and nothing is being done. So that is where Hinduism is also suffering, is that the organizations that are sitting with monies, but they are not coming forward like the other organizations, like, okay, let's say Gift of the Givers, for instance. They are coming out in numbers. And now when somebody speaks about giving money, they say, let's give it to the Gift of the Givers, And then where are the Hindu organizations? Because as Swami Vedananda and myself, we were talking once, and then an organization said that, no, let each Hindu organization do their own things. And then when you're lighting small fires, no one notices. So when you come together,
very true.
You put all the resources together, then only you will see a big fire. Otherwise, no one is going to notice that fire. So it is important that we go to with these organizations and explain them those things, and work with them. Of course, we don't have any hidden agendas. So, but we want to bring Hinduism to the top. We want somebody in the orange garb to represent in some big functions. You see an orange garb standing there, not one follow the suit and tie, say, I represent Hinduism. Hinduism is not about suit and ties.
Yes, that is so true. That is beautifully put, very practical and extremely impactful. Thank you, Swami Ramkripananda. I think you actually hit the nail on the head. Just to answer that same question, Swami Vedananda, how will the Sannyasa Council actually work with organizations like the South African Hindu Mahasabha, for example, or other major bodies that we have in the country? Will it be separate? How will it actually be inclusive?
Right. So, firstly, it's important to note, very important to note, that the Sannyasa Spiritual Council of South Africa is not a challenging institution, meaning that we are not here to replace any organization. We're not here to challenge any organization. That is far from the purpose. Our purpose is to respect all current structures that remain, but most importantly, to unite the structures, to bring peace amongst the structures, to consolidate the activity so that there is a united voice, because we are being lost in the midst of all this drama. Hindu Dharma is suffering. So our mandate is within the borders of South Africa. Any institution or individual within the confines of South Africa that works towards that dharma, that works towards the fundamentals of dharma, doesn't contradict the values of dharma, we will definitely work with, because we're there to work together. But also note that it is also our responsibility, as declared by our dictates, that if an individual or an institution, now I'm using South Africa from a Sannyasa Spiritual Council of South Africa perspective, but as sannyasis, the whole world, we can scream and shout lovingly and peacefully, obviously. But
you belong to the world and the world belongs to you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Any institution or individual that goes against the grain of dharma or the tenets of dharma and does so in a way that causes detriment to Hinduism, we will be vocal about it. And we will do all that is peacefully necessary, by whatever peaceful means, to be able to address the issue. So whilst we work together, we must also appreciate and understand that we need to do so respecting one another, but putting dharma as supreme. And if we cross those fundamentals, that is why the treaty is so important, because we're all agreeing that, remember, as grihastis also, you're going to get your frictions here and there. It's not going to disappear off the face of the earth. But we need to be able to manage that. We're hoping that this treaty manages that, so that whilst these little issues do take place, the greater essence of what these organizations are trying to achieve and how dharma should not be compromised as a result will be protected. But to answer the question, we will work with any and every institution to be able to help them continue to develop and uphold and promote dharma in the country, so long as they do not violate the dictates of dharma.
Absolutely. And absolutely well said. So it means now that as a Hindu, as a citizen of the country, I don't have to go through 10 hierarchies in order to meet my guru. that I can have access to you? Is that can one use that as an example to say every Hindu has accessibility to the Swami?
100%.
Swami Vedanandji? Okay.
Correct. Definitely. As I said, we have to work on the ground, you see. But also remember, Yashikaji, it's also important that institutions must follow their own protocols. If something goes wrong,
Yes.
don't immediately jump to the Sannyas Council, because, as I said, we also have to respect the current legal protocols and organizational protocols that are in place, because we're not there to challenge the organization now, sit in and say, okay, what are you doing, sort this out. I mean, when all else fails, we are there. If we need to make our opinion heard, and it's not an opinion, it'll always be a reference to our scriptures, we will make ourselves heard. But we also need to respect the structures that are in place. Otherwise, we too will get overwhelmed. We'll be inundated, I think, Swamiji, with issues and things like that. So you got to follow the structures. Also, know that there are administrative structures. I mean, we've got South African Hindu Mahasabha that plays an important role. We got to respect these structures. But that is why the Sannyasa Council is away from the structures, so that it's not involved in administrative affairs, but as the sannyasis together, whilst being impartial to all the administrative affairs, it gives us greater impetus to be able to make a determination or a declaration where things go haywire, things are not done in accordance with dharma. The moment we get too involved in the administrative affairs, then we become compromised. Remember, as sannyasis, we have to be impartial. And to be impartial means to be a step away and to observe. And when necessary, to come in and to rectify. Because we also have to give the organizations a chance to deal with their own matters, sort it out, to learn. After all, Sri Krishna didn't just say, right, cancel the war, let's all go back and make peace. No, he allowed the war to continue. But whilst allowing that war to continue and allowing them to face the consequence of their actions, he taught dharma. He uplifted. Those who decided to embrace that, they were victorious. Those who went against it, we all know what happened. So we've got to observe and allow things to take its course. We are not there to now, strike the whip and to say, now we are judge, jury, and executioner. No. Though dharma gives us our responsibilities, and we'll be firm and loving, as we need to. We'll always be loving, but we'll also be lovingly firm when we need to. But we also must respect the structures in place.
It's wonderfully said. So, Swami Ramkripananda, what is... So the Sannyasa Council now is this one body that spreads unity, that spread peace, that works in collaboration with all the existing organizations that are there. And do you think that you will find some challenges, though? Because not everyone, because a lot of the organizations are run by grihasthis or individuals, that they may not really want to take direction from the sannyasi. How would you deal with some of these challenges, Swami Ramkripananda?
No, it's true. I mean, even the ashrams, they might not even want to work with us. Certain ashrams, they believe that their way is the only way. And why they should now listen to this newly formed body of sannyasins. But anyway, we have to, in a way, we're going to have to lovingly try and infiltrate all these organizations. And whenever there is a conflict in an organization, and if they ask for our help, we can always go there and only give our advice and give our assistance, because we are available for that kind of thing. We want to bring that kind of unity, and we want to go into an organization where they are truly having problems, to say to the people, let us all be Hanumans and leave Ram to do his work. And you find that in a lot of organizations, there's lots of conflicts. And it's so difficult to get in because each one has got his own ego and his own pride. But if we go in a form of sannyas, in that humble and simple way, we're going to have to win them over. This is the route we're going to take, is to go in that way as servants of God, and use our power of meditation and our power of renunciation, and try and change the mind of the householders. You know?
To echo what Swamiji says, we are peacemakers, not makers of pieces. We're not there to break anything. We're there to unite and combine and to exhaust every opportunity to make things work. And I mean, there will be times where, we'll have to make hard decisions where that peace might not be possible in the way we foresee it. But those will be those times. Bottom line, we are peacemakers, not makers of pieces.
Absolutely. And I think that society needs that strength, because sometimes, even with the silence, just simply with the presence of the sannyasa, it calms the mind for those who come in contact, with the swamis. We found that also. I work also with some indigenous traditions, and the moment they see the orange robe, they don't know about the status quo or anything within dharma, but something in the presence and the aura of the Swami calms them, and they're able to respond and actually come together very, very beautifully. Will you find your role working with other faiths as well, Swami Vedanandji?
Absolutely. We have to. Remember, like I said in the beginning, Manur Bhava Janaya Devyam Janam. And also, Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuta Vadanti. God, the
Yes.
truth is one, the wise speak of it by many names. We mustn't forget, whilst fighting to keep the color of Hinduism alive, we mustn't lose the essence of Hinduism, and that is humanity. Now, whilst each religion might have their way of worship and their own traditions and cultures, there are things that unite us, there are things that are similarities which we need to work on and respect each other. Ultimately, society is full of it, so full of the diversity. If we're going to pick and fight with each other, we'll kill each other at the end of the day. There'll be nothing left. We'll destroy ourselves, we'll destroy Mother Earth, everything. We have to work together to work on the similarities, educate our fellow multi-faith communities on what we represent, take out any misconceptions and perceptions. Equally, we must also take the misconceptions and perceptions we have about the other faiths to our communities. In that way,
Yes.
we create understanding, respect, and tolerance. One might not agree, but I respect and tolerate because you equally respect and tolerate me. The essence is we are trying to pray to that one God, no matter what we call it. Whilst I celebrate it in my way, whilst you celebrate in your way. But it's all about, again, education and understanding.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
And
I think,
Swami,
sorry, Mataji, just to add to that,
sure.
we at Sarva Dharma, we chose that name Sarva Dharma for the same reason, is to embrace all, to work with everyone, And we have a lot of pastors and Christian people and even bishops that would walk into Sarva Dharma and have a cup of tea with us. Because we
Yes.
speak, we don't tell him that, your religion is practicing this and our religion is practicing that. But we just see Bhagwan in one another, and we respect that person. And when they come to our ashram, 90% of the time they come, they want some help. So we help them. We won't say, oh, you all are Christians, we can't help you all. As long as they are helping the community to find some kind of contact with God, or some kind of oneness with God, or that can take them out of the adharmic ways, then nothing wrong with that. Sometimes they say, that person became a Christian, Swamiji. I say, if he was Hindu, what he was doing, drinking, smoking, dancing. I said, now he's a Christian, what he's doing? He's changed his life. But he could have done it in Hinduism. But maybe Hinduism has not given him the path. Maybe one of the sannyasas has not been there to help him, you see. So if it's making them a better person, then we shouldn't now go and attack the pastor. Why are you taking that Hindu away? But we got to ask ourselves, what have we done? If you take, like Swamiji has been with us today at the Sarva Dharma Ashram, and the black children are coming in numbers.
Yes.
Like you said earlier on, is something about the sannyas, or there's something about his uniform, maybe, give you that Horus look. But the children now are responding to it. And it's not about, it's that energy, you got to
Yes.
give that energy, that the child must feel like there is a warmth in this person. And for the 28 years that we have been here in Walbidat, our bhajan hall will be full with children. We can, some Sundays we can have 200-300 children coming for the bhajans. But they've been coming over the 28 years. Why? Because it's the Swami that shows them that they are important people, that they are special, and we should embrace them and then give them, because Hinduism has the best value system. Hinduism has the best way of life. And it is our duty to slowly, not to say, go change your religion now and become another Ramkripananda, no, but as Patrick or Petros or whatever but you can practice Ramkripananda's qualities and make them, and when you sow the seed with one child, because Mazoma, that child is going to get married. And then when they marry, their children will have the same values. And eventually we'll change the whole, outlook of South Africa also. So people look at us and say, like we in this unrest time, we must thank Bhagwan that at Sarva Dharma we had no incidents at all. And we were actually getting very worried. Maybe they're going to come later on and attack us. But it so happened, nothing really happened, because people are walking around and they said, don't worry, your ashram is well protected. So we need to go out there, change the mindset of people, change the attitude of people, and convert them to be good people. Not convert them from one religion to the other, but be dharmic people. See God in all, love all, be kind to one another, and that is your brother and that is your sister. And that kind of love we have to show, That's the most important ingredient in anything, whether you're cooking biryani or you're in your religion. If you miss that love, nothing will taste good.
Absolutely.
If I could just echo what Swamiji says, we must always ask ourselves 4 questions. What does it mean to be traditional? What does it mean to be cultural? And cultural will be an infusion of tradition. Then after, what does it mean to be cultural? What does it mean to be Hindu? And to be Hindu today is an infusion of culture and tradition of the past with many flavors, many beauties. But then fourthly, what does it mean to be dharmic? And dharmic is not the fusion of Hindu or culture or tradition, because dharma is the root.
Exactly.
You see? And sometimes we forget, whilst we're fighting for the former 3, we lose our dharma in between. Always ask ourselves, yes, nobody says don't be proud of who you are. Nobody says don't be proud of tradition, don't be proud of culture, don't be proud of being Hindu, but don't forget dharma in all of that. Because the moment you do, then the rest means nothing. The essence of dharma must always reign supreme. I challenge our people. Go through our scriptures, go through the Vedas, go through the Gita. You tell me in what way the Gita or the Vedas differentiate. It doesn't. It doesn't differentiate based on the language we speak, the race we are, the traditions or cultures. But it asks us to live a lifestyle, a dharmic lifestyle, which makes us better human beings. Because tomorrow when we go to that Paramatma, you think there's different doors? We will reincarnate. And we need, as we reincarnate, to shed our karmas of our negative choices and negative actions. Because we need to be pure at heart. And that's why before we go pointing to other communities, we have to look at ourselves first. Are we pure? And that purity will echo. And remember, we can't be responsible for the other man's choices. We can only be responsible over our own. But because the next person may not choose to think otherwise, let us not wield the axe, because then we go against the grain of dharma. Tomorrow, Bhagwan is not going to ask, what did that man do? What did you do? How did you respond?
Very, very true, Swamiji. Wonderful and wise words indeed. Swamiji, there's been a few questions that are coming because people may be getting confused, and I'm sure it will be explained more in the launch tomorrow and as we go forward. So there's a question that has come up. You said that the Sannyasa Council, will respect all the organizations that are there, but we have like the Hindu Mahasabha, which is supposed to be, the mother body of the Hindus. Has been annotated in that way. but there has also been areas where people have not been accepted, or organizations have not been accepted, etc. How will the Sannyasa Council influence working together and bringing different groups together? Because some people, feel like they're appendages and they're not able to, be a part of a whole, because certain groups may not want certain groups to be together. And it's across the board, and we've seen that in the Hindu community. Well, how will you influence that change?
So, okay, there's three things I'd like to just add input, and then Swamiji can also add. Firstly, we can't speak for any organization, right? Like I said, we are sannyasis which have a mission, which have a vision. And we hope that through our vision of trying to bring the work together, that we can work with one vision and mission in mind. At the end of the day, each organization should not have to be, or should not have to feel left out in any way. If you're doing dharmic work, you're answerable to your maker. You see, you're answerable to your maker. Continue doing the work. What
Yes.
our intention and hope is to see how we can facilitate that so that we can work together. And through that, hopefully, whatever differences may exist, we pray again, we are peacemakers. We pray that we forget whatever differences there may be and again work towards a united dharmic approach, specifically here in South Africa speaking, and work together. We all have resources. Can you imagine if we come together and pool those resources, intellectually speaking, spiritually speaking, financially speaking? It's not about which logo goes where, which organization reigns supreme, which organization accepts who. No, it's about how have Hindus come together for the sake of Hinduism. Full stop. What contribution is it for my own? Leave organizations aside, there's individuals. Sometimes there are individuals that don't belong to organizations. How can we come together and say, look, I want to be a part of this? In what way can I contribute? And in that way, wherever you fit, by all means, go ahead. So long as you're working toward dharma. Never try and put yourself in a category or try and be, sometimes the mind works like this, Yashikaji. We keep on judging ourselves based on something, another criteria outside of us, somebody else's thought, somebody else's action. And then we forget our own role in the process, trying to meet up with somebody else's standards, with somebody else's intentions and thoughts. So I'm saying, if you know what you're doing is pure, work ahead. If you're aligned together as organizations, go do the work. If you find that you're an organization that just is comfortable with working alone, do the work, but work for the sake of dharma. And where you can, which is what we're going to try and do, is say, okay, 4 times, 5 times a year, let's try come together. And slowly, it's by planting that seed. The tree is not going to grow immediately. Definitely not. That soil is going to be rugged. That soil might be dry. That soil may even be infertile. But let's hope, as Swamiji's, we can insert some fertility in the soil, darken the soil, plant the seed, and we pray again for the sake of peace. We are limited number here in South Africa, and we've got so much that we can achieve together. We just must put the politics aside. We must put the egos aside. Put dharma first. I don't know why we just can't put dharma first. We put all of our attention elsewhere. And then wait, obviously dharma is not going to reign supreme because the attention is on the ego. The attention is on other things. So we must, if we start focusing on dharma and start focusing on the work, automatically, the law of attraction, those strengths will come to us.
Absolutely well said. Swamiji, one question from the female perspective. We know in South Africa, many of the sampradayas, generally have the male figure. And of course, with the nature of the sannyas, they transcend the gender. But we also have new, wonderful female sannyasis also. Will they be part of the council? Swami Ramkripananda?
Can I read you from the constitution? Then Swamiji can.
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to read the constitutional clause, Swamiji, then you can take it over.
No
because
problem,
I'm glad
brother.
the question was raised. So, under the signatories of the Sannyasa Council, Article 12.3 Sannyasis are neither male nor female. A sannyasi completely disidentifies with the body and past identity. A sannyasi is and only sees Atman. Therefore, there is no female or male sannyasi, but just sannyasi. Thank you, Swamiji. You can go ahead.
Hmm. No, I
That's
think that,
beautiful.
also we want to just clarify, I think that the Hindu Mahasabha is also accepted the Sannyas Council. And the last meeting when we had with Trikamji, he was very warm and welcoming to the council. And also he did mention that now it will make his life and work much easier. So in that way, we know that we're going to assist the Hindu Mahasabha in a lot of ways, and to also bring, bring some kind of peace with the, everyone complains. A lot of people complain about this organization, that organization. And like you said early on, they can't infiltrate there. They can't join this organization. So we're going to be there to see that kind of thing happen, because like Swamiji was just saying now, is that we are Hindus, and we are just a very minute number in our country. And why can't we be together? I mean, this is a very, very sad thing that everyone is like cannot find peace with one another, and the whole Hindu this thing is in pieces at the moment. So we are hoping that the Sannyas Council will start now to work, go into Cape Town, go to Johannesburg, and start getting the spiritual people together, and we can have little satsangs and meetings with them, and tell them, right, this is how we should do things, But coming to female sannyas, as Swamiji has read the constitution very clearly, we believe, and I can tell you now that female swamis will do a better job than the male swamis. Because besides they can cook well, they're also more loving and kind and compassionate. So, no, we encourage our mothers to take to sannyas. And as we have Maitri Anandaji, who is part of the Arya Samaj, she's doing such a great work amongst the people, and she's loving to the children, and she feels for a short while she has been Swami, was quite surprised, of how she's interacting with the people and how people are interacting with her. And she's living in Kendall amongst the Jondals, but she is quite free to go and come. But end of the day, love protects you also. And by you just serving the community, your karma will protect you. So when Arya Samaj came to me and said, Swamiji, Maitri Anandaji wants to go to live in Kendall, it's so dangerous, what do you think? And all these things. I said, well, if she wants to go, why must you stop her? Anyway, because as a sannyas, you already did. You did your Vraja Homa, you did your death ceremony. So if she dies, only the body going to die, But we want to welcome the female swamis. There's a lot of loving ladies out there. I know that other organizations treat female swamis very badly, and even in our order also, the female swamis are not treated well. But we are in another era. We are not from the orthodox school, Then also everything is about the mind. If I look at you and then if I see, something happening in the mind, then you're not a sannyas, because your mind is not right. You got to put your mind right. So when you are with the sannyas, you see mother in her and you see sister in her, and you love her in that way,
Absolutely.
We are definitely for more females to become swamis, and so that we can have more love in the Hindu community.
That's beautifully put. We can go on talking for the rest of the evening, but I know the time, is coming to an end as well. One of the key things, there's something that's come up now from Facebook, and we really must thank, our both Swamijis today for recognizing, the feminine divine. And Swami Maitriji, as you said, lives in an informal settlement, and her whole life she's been supportive of the community, working with them selflessly, just like you do. And, if people can see that, and I think the media also has a role to play in not showcasing the real work of the sannyasis in South Africa, as well as the Hindu society. And that's why with social media, as well as with other media, we really need to push the messages forward. And, going back to your previous point, Swami Ramkripananda ji, when it comes to addressing social issues like seva, social issues like moral issues that the young people face. In South Africa, with the COVID pandemic, it was only one or two organizations like Gift of the Givers that received so much of limelight. Yet, the same amount of work is actually done in the Hindu community and Christian and other communities, but there's very little that was, propagated. And again, it's not, and we have deep respect for every organization that went out and really, really helped and, took flights across and chartered planes across to bring in relief. But what do you think is the problem, Swami Vedanandji, in terms of this biasness from the media, or rather the ignorance of the media? And will you, as the Sannyasa Council, push forward to try and counteract some of these things?
Well, we look at it in two ways. Firstly, whilst, so it's very important nobody misconstrues what I'm saying. Whilst we always work selflessly without the intention to flaunt the work or to say we're doing it because we want the public to, praise us. So we know that.
Yes.
But for the sake of awareness, because unfortunately in the current, call it political climate for the lack of a better word, there's a lot of blame shifting, there's a lot of accusations done. So as not to make it seem as if we're flaunting our work, I think what's necessary and what's important is that our people are also educated and aware, not only Hindus or Indians, but I mean the South African community at large are aware of the response and continued response that many of our organizations have been engaged in on the ground on a regular basis, not just at times of disasters. And let me tell you, we know it doesn't even need to be said that at times of disasters, we are amongst the first communities to respond in large ways. But that being said, every single day, there are institutions on the ground. Swamiji is here, Swami Ramkripananda with Sarva Dharma Ashram, the Arya Samaj, most of our organizations, even those that are not mentioned, and individuals that are doing so much on a daily basis. It's important that the community is aware. So when times like tensions and things arise, fingers are not pointed to say, okay, what are you doing for the community? And, questions like that. And then suddenly we don't have a record of what we're doing. So again, it's important to note that we're not or shouldn't encourage it with the intention of flaunting, hey, this is what we're doing, give us stars and things like that. No, but it's to make people aware that we are not just sitting and collecting money and living off the land and living off our people and exploiting the poor. We are there to give back, to uplift, to educate, to upskill our people, regardless of the community that need is. And this is so important because Dharma tells us never to differentiate. Who are we to differentiate? So long as the need is there, so long as somebody is poor, does not have a plate of food, is not educated, where we can, we must do our best to provide those skills, that plate of food, those groceries, etc. And whilst doing that, educate, teach them the values of that universal dharma.
Very true.
So doing, record that so that just make people aware that things are being done in the community, and look at it on the bright side. For people who may not know that this is happening, they can say, okay, what, there's certain organizations that are doing something. Let's see, we can, also assist and be part of that. So it works on both ways, provided, my friends, that the intention is not to flaunt the work, if I could put it in that way.
But Mataji, I think as Hindus also, we said that we are doing a seva, and for when we are doing a seva, we don't want to go and publicize the seva. Then it's not a seva, So that kind of attitude is there, like us now at the Sarva Dharma. In last year, over 300 kilos of rice was cooked per day, and was taken out to everybody. People were coming here for food, and we were taking food out. Over 300 kilos per day was cooked. But then sometime when we are traveling out and we listen to the radio station, and somebody is feeding 50 people there on the radio,
Absolutely.
and and then I'm thinking, oh, they fed 50 people. Well, for them, it's a lot of people. But when we are catering for 4,000 people per day,
Yes.
then it's but at the same time, we don't want to advertise. It's not for Hindus to advertise our work and all. But also the awareness must be there, because how we continue with our feeding, because we need funds also to come
Yes.
in. But you are right in the way that we don't know how and why. A lot of the organizations were getting coverage, but the ones that are doing the most amount of work were not getting coverage. So I suppose it's who you know at the top, or you got to go and pump your organization to the radio station and say, this is what I'm doing. But of course, we don't work like that. We say, serve man, serve God, and God will provide,
Absolutely, and I think that's a very good point that you'd raised, Swami Ramkripananda and Swami Vedanandji, because Hindu society has been conditioned to work selflessly. I mean, I had the difficulty when I was part of the media, and I used to go to the organizations, and then they used to say, no, please don't publicize us. We don't want publicity. And then I had to try and educate some of the sannyasis as well as me and leaders to say, but it's not about the ego, it's about awareness, because those communities that we are serving in a public space are not aware. They don't know who you are, why you wear the saffron garb. I mean, everybody knows. If you go to the townships, then they ask me, and they all say, oh, you came to chant Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, because the people has been, going in that way, because they're quite dynamic, and they do all the, the meals, etc. But they don't know another organization who continues to do that and live among the people every day, because that is not the end goal of that organization, So I think it's good now that we can consolidate. Let's consolidate effort. A lot of the new norm is behind the cameras and the laptops, and we are able to maybe post on social media to some of the organizations that we have. We've got, the World Hindu Foundation, there's Gauteng Hindus, there's KZN Hindus. These young people now have this energy, and they really want to push forward Hindu education, Hindu leaders, Hindu sannyasis, and put us there, amongst the bigger icons of the country. And, we've achieved our democracy through so much of struggle, through so much of difficulty. And, many of our icons, have passed on, or they go, some of them are much too old now. How do we celebrate them, in a way that we have to tell our own stories, and it becomes part of the bigger narrative in the country? And I think that's some of the challenges I think you are going to face as the Sannyasa Council. Another issue before we close this evening is the social issues. We've got Swami Ramkripananda, you mentioned conversion, and it's a huge social issue. There's suicides. There's also drug issues that are happening. How will practically the Sannyasa Council impact those social issues? Will you work Will you call up meetings? Will you call up gatherings? Will you, or how will it be done practically in order to address these big issues? Even women abuse, and women abuse during the COVID pandemic has reached alarming proportions. I'm sorry, I'm asking a lot of female gender-based questions, but Swamis will know, because you are working with, women who are abused and children who are abused as well. How will you actually deal with these issues practically?
Okay, so if I could come in, you see, all of us so far on the council work on the ground and have many programs in place. But what will be important now is for us to consolidate our resources and programs that we currently have, so that we have a larger effect on these issues. We are still to have meetings in which we'll discuss the various social issues and what we can do as a council and as a united front to address these serious issues out there, whether it's having awareness gatherings, whether it's having practical things on the ground and working with organizations that already have projects. Because remember, ours is not to go and reinvent the wheel. We have organizations, Hindu organizations, that are doing so much work in these fields. Our duty would be now to go and emphasize on this and to make it larger, to make it more incorporative, and to be able to see how we can help so that it is even more successful.
Excellent. Thank you, Swamiji. And Swami Ramkripanandaji, your opinion on that?
No, what Swamiji is saying is absolutely right. But here in Valbidat, we work closely with our people, and like we said earlier on, our door is always open. So when people have problems, when females are abused or the children are abused, they know that they can come and speak to Swamiji. And in a lot of cases that we had recently also, which we have sent to like child welfare and the department, and also referred to the police. When they come here, sometime at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the night, and they got problems, but we can just keep them for a night or help them out, and then we refer them to go to somewhere else. But the whole idea of this thing is that, like Swamiji is saying, that the Swamis that are involved with us, different organizations that are involved with us, we have in different areas, you got different problems. Like in Valbidat is mainly poverty and drugs and what you call women abuse, like you said, and also children abuse. Children are very badly neglected. So we have taken on a lot of these things on our shoulders, but it's that approach that they can come to you. We don't want to keep our doors closed. They must say, "There is Swamiji, let us go." Sometimes when the people come here, they say, "No, Swamiji is busy. We want to see Swamiji." But they say, "No, we can't help you." Say, "No, we want to see Swamiji," because they know that Swamiji has a passionate heart, so he's going to say yes. So that kind of attitude we have to develop amongst the people. Yeah.
Very, very true. Thank you so much. So closing statements. Tomorrow is the big launch for the Sannyasi Spiritual Council of South Africa. Well done. Congratulations to everyone in the organization. And we're looking forward to walking this journey with you, Swami Vedanandji, Swami Ramkripanandaji, and the other sannyasis. So in closing, what is the hope and the message that you would like to share with South Africa? Swami Ramkripanandaji first.
Yes, we want to say that we have a home for the Hindus to come. And if they are not happy somewhere, and if they're not getting help from the organizations and people around, the spiritual people around there, they could always pick up the phone and phone us and say, this is what we are going through. And we want to keep our doors open to them.
Excellent. Thank you, Swamiji. And Swami Vedanandaji, in closing?
All I can say is peace, unity, united Hinduism, bright future. Let's work together and put Dharma first.
Put Dharma first. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Tat Sat.
All right, we'll end with the Shanti Path and Tech will play the mantra. Thank you, Swamijis. Namaste.
Om.
Hari Om.
शान्तिरन्तरिक्षं शान्तिः पृथिवी शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोषधयः शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवाः शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वं शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः सा मा शान्तिरेधि ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः